Hey out there. Hello, hello. Happy to get this out of my face. There we go. Happy Wednesday hump day to all of my amazing clients, viewers, friends, family. The list can go on for a super long time. I'm Jonathan Bengal here, host of Naked Tax Talk, where we come together and we bear naked to get to the truth about our tax lives. And we do this by openly having conversations about our personal lives, our business lives, and of course, our money lives, which is really a facet of our tax lives. I get also asked this question all the time. How is it that you can show up naked on your show? And I always respond back by saying, because when we show up naked, babies, this is what we're doing. We're cultivating courage. There's nothing more vulnerable than standing here with you guys naked in my just the skin I was born in and talking about the truth about our tax lives, business lives, and our personal lives. So I first of all want to also give you guys a quick really update. And that is that this, of course, is an interactive show, meaning you can leave comments. And if I can get to them throughout the show, I will definitely bring up your comment and I will also comment back to the things that you say. So it's very interactive. So please do leave a comment below or whatnot. Say hello, let me know you're watching. That would be great. And another cool update is that my book is coming out July 7th at 11 a.m. And I'm asking people out there to go out there and buy my book, The ABCs of Deductions. And here's why. Because this book, I know for a fact, is going to impact you as a business owner. I know for a fact this book is going to add multitudes of monies into your pocket overnight. And as a result, you're going to pay less taxes to a government that does not want your money, babies. That's what this book's going to do. The ABCs of Deductions, an entrepreneur's guide to write-offs. Listen, there's still time to get onto my launch team. And if you really want to get on it, send me a text under the cover, all one word, to 555-888. Again, send me a text under the cover to 555-888, and you will get added to our launch team. There's still time to get this. So here's what you're committing to do. You're committing to buy my book July 7th at 11 a.m. You're committing to reading it. It's just 40 pages, babies. That's it. And you're also committing to leaving a review after you've read it. And of course, buying it for just 99 cents. So that's all I'm asking for my peeps out there who love me, know me, trust me, and support me. And so I would love that. I would think it would be such a great honor to have this impact, because it's going to impact. Or better yet, maybe you know someone else that could use this book as it relates to them being an entrepreneur. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and I guess I'll pause all this jazz up. And here's what I'm going to just share with you guys. So I was thinking about today's topic. Today, I thought, you know what? I want to talk about a subject that is relatively serious, and that is that the road less traveled. And I think it was Hemingway who wrote this in one of his books, or maybe it's a poem. I think it's a poem where he talks about it's the road that's less traveled. And essentially, of course, we all have come to hear this in some form or another. And ironically enough, I was an English teacher at some point in my career, in my life. But that was it, right? There comes a time when there's a fork in the road and we have to make a decision. And when we pick the road less traveled, it just simply means that there's going to be a whole hell of a lot more obstacles. It's going to be more challenging. But I can tell you personally as well that the reward is 20 million times over the challenges that we're going to be faced with, where each of us are faced with. So I thought I would take today as an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about why I ultimately wrote the ABCs of Deductions and how ultimately understanding taxes completely revolutionized my life as an entrepreneur and ultimately as a tax consultant. Because here's something that many of you may or may not know. But I am an IRS enrolled agent. I got that in 2016. I then became a certified tax coach in 2018. Then I became a certified tax planner in 2019. And of course, I became the author of this amazing book, The ABCs of Deductions, in 2020. So you can see there's this natural progression of each license and each certification I'm achieving in order to really truly take my company to that next level. And here's what I can share with you. It all comes back to us understanding the basic foundations of taxes and how it relates to our business and how it relates into our lives. So today I was actually having a conversation with my friend Sanella, and she said to me, JB, how in the heck did you become an accountant? And ironically enough, that road that I would pick would prove to be probably one of the most challenging roads I could have ever picked in my life. So here it goes, right? Here it goes. The reason why I became an accountant has nothing to do with the fact that I love numbers and that they tell me stories. As a matter of fact, the reason why I became an accountant is because it was my first mentor that I met when I was 18 years old. His name is Steven. And he was much older and he was a financial advisor. He still is. And he knew my background. And my background is this. I am a product of extreme poverty. And what I mean by that is that I was raised by a single mother who raised two boys, my younger brother and myself, on a fixed income of $500 a month. And with that $500 a month, from the time I was born, practically, actually, up until I moved out at the age of 18, my mother had to take $500 every month and budget that out. She had to make decisions like, where are we going to live? What kind of food are we going to have for the month? What kind of clothing are my boys going to wear? What am I going to wear? How am I going to help them to have the best experience they can possibly have in school and everything else? For me, extreme poverty growing up in that situation was difficult. At the time, I didn't know, but I would later discover how detrimental it can be. And that is that as a poor child, I was always looking at others, meaning all of my friends having the latest video games, having the latest clothing, the latest gadgets, the latest everything, right? Seeing adults around me, my family members around me, having the coolest cars, the new cars, the best houses, the big Christmas presents underneath the Christmas trees, while ours were typically 2 to 3 packages. And it was always the same thing, socks and underwear, because when you are a child of poverty, the basic needs of eating rice and beans and tortillas, which by the way, I miss. So mom, if you're watching, I really miss your tortillas. And but basics of socks and clean underwear. This is what children of poverty are given for Christmas time. And so I came from that extreme poverty. And so I, of course, grew up always yearning and wanting more out of life. I always wanted the ability to be able to go buy the latest and the greatest. I always wanted to have the newest car, the nicest house, the best of clothing. Then, of course, in 2013, that would change when I spent 35 days walking across Spain, but I digress. So I go to university and I'm supposed to become a teacher because from the youngest time that I can remember, I always wanted to be a teacher. In fact, I remember at the age of 12 years old for Christmas, there was this container under the Christmas tree that was the largest thing that had appeared other than the typical smaller packages, which, as I said before, we always knew was underwear and socks. And lo and behold, when I unwrapped this present, there it was, a chalkboard. That day, I forced my brother and my cousins to be my students in my virtual classroom. And I became their teacher during winter break. And then I would subsequently be their teacher on weekends that they'd come over with my brother, or during the summer months, I would play teacher. So I always had this vision that I was going to be a teacher. In 2019, when I met Paul, he had said to me, "What are you going to do?" I had no idea what I was going to do. And all I know is that I was going to become a teacher. And the question that was posed was, do you want to be poor your whole life? And that statement scared me so much because I know what it's like to come from not having, in the physical sense of material things. And it scared me so much so that I went back to the university and I changed my major. I changed it from education to accounting. And that was because my friend said, listen, if you want to make money, you want to be in money, you got to work with money. And so I took an accounting class and it turns out I freaking loved it. I mean, I got debits and credits. They were so easy peasy. I'm telling you right now. I understood the concept of chart of accounts. I understood that when one thing moves from one schedule to another, where it flows through. I understood all of that. And little did I know, I have a natural talent to read financial statements and read the story behind what's being told to me. I would later discover in 2004, when I started my first company, JB Financial, that I had this natural ability to look at a tax return and see the story behind it. So, needless to say, I graduated in 2005 with my bachelor's degree in business accounting. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona in 2005, where I found myself living with a friend of mine who would then unfortunately have to kick me out due to some circumstances. But I found myself living in this hot city with nowhere to go and too prideful to go home. And so I refused to leave. I lived in my car for a few months. And finally, I got my first job at a CPA firm and I became an accountant. And I was so excited that I went out and I got me a little condo downtown and my cute little thing, unknowing, by the way, that I was severely undercompensated for my degree and, of course, for what most accountants were being paid at that time, which is fine because what I learned from them was so much knowledge that would give me the basis to who I am today, too. Needless to say, in 2007, 2006, I got another job at another firm. And I had an amazing 9 months. And unfortunately, I was fired for being an openly gay man at their firm. They couldn't handle the concept that a gay man could be in their presence and could deliver the work. They were more focused about who I was fucking in the bedroom than they were about my production. But here's the thing, I'd never been fired before. And so I remember the day that I walked into this office, and imagine it's like a typical accounting office, papers everywhere, you name it. And I thought to myself, oh my God, like I just got a promotion because they must have given in all the work to all of like everybody else. Like, oh my God, I just got a promotion. Unbeknownst to me, a few minutes later, I got called into the main office where I was told that I was no longer a good fit. And at that time, they didn't give me the reason why they fired me other than I wasn't a good fit. And it wasn't until about a few months later that one of the managing partners called me up and gave me the real reason. They told me they fired me because I was gay. Needless to say, I found myself going back to where I was in high school, which was everyone doesn't like me because I'm gay. And I guess maybe this is true in the accounting world. But you know, there's a saying that goes, with every door that closes, a new one opens. And lo and behold, I would meet my mentor, Joanne Martone, who has since passed away. May she rest in peace. And she was family like I am. By the way, for those of us who are not part of our community or don't have very many of us in your community, we refer to people like us who are also gay, lesbian, transgendered, queer, you name it. We call them family. Because oftentimes we find that the family we have to create is the people around us who are like us and not our blood family, because usually our blood families are the ones that are typically the first to reject you. So that's why we call them family. Needless to say, I met Joanne. She hired me on as her right-hand man, so to speak, and I would learn a lot of things from her over 3 years. But I got tired of the mundane working behind the screen, inputting data into books and all that other jazz. And I went home in December of 2009. No, 2008. Sorry, it's going to be 2009 the next year. And I got onto the computer, and lo and behold, one of my bestest of buddies that I knew in college hit me up when we started talking to each other on Yahoo Messenger. So that tells you how far back here. And I said to him what we say to everybody that you know who's graduated, what firm do you work at? And of course, responded back and said, I'm not working at a firm, I'm a teacher. And I was elated. So I turned around and I left my accounting job and I pursued my degree in my master's in secondary education. And as a result of becoming a teacher, finally fulfilling my lifelong dream, my dream to be a teacher came true. In 2010, I graduated with my master's in secondary education, where I also, by the way, in this process, met my husband now of 11 years. And also through the educational process, by me becoming a teacher and being a teacher in the classroom, ironically enough, teaching English of all subjects, I would learn the most important lesson of all, which was the lesson of forgiveness that comes later on, almost 4 years later. And what I mean by that is that the second time I would be discriminated against what happened during my teaching career. I was systematically discriminated against for 3.5 years because I was an openly gay man in the classroom. And what they do with new teachers, by the way, most people, I don't know if this is everybody, but they always provide you the students that could barely read at grade level. By the way, I taught 7th grade. They always give the kids that could barely read at that level, that were typically reading, first, second grade, third grade, if you were lucky. And you had a few kids, of course, that could read at almost grade level. I had the spectacular ability to take my students who were typically underperforming, or they were problem kids in other classrooms, and take them from that to be the successful young adults that they were turning into, they were morphing into, to the next grade level. So they were testing at grade level or above grade level. And the teachers around me, the administration around me, they unfortunately could not understand my methodology, which is this, babies. It's about inspiring. It's about motivating. It's not about creating fears and downgrading somebody and telling somebody they're stupid or ignorant, they're not possible, they can't accomplish anything in their lives. That was never part of my classroom. And as a result, I would later learn that my students would tell other students that they had to go take Mr. Bengal's classroom to experience what they called the Bengal Experience. Because they knew that for once they could enter into a classroom where they were not judged for who they were. I saw them as the true potential, the true stars that every single one of them were. If you cannot tell, teaching was and is my passion. And unfortunately, I was forced out of the education world. And as I tell people, unfortunately, Mr. Bengal was murdered in 2014, going into 15. I found myself getting in the car and driving to my house, contemplating my death. Because imagine that for me, all I ever wanted was to be Mr. Bengal in the classroom. All I ever wanted since my earliest of memories was to teach and to help people to grow and to become something spectacular and amazing in life. That's all I ever wanted. And unfortunately, Mr. Bengal was murdered. I drove home in my car contemplating how I was going to execute my demise, how I was going to check myself out. Because what I was realizing is that without purpose, without a sense of purpose, then why go on? And my sense of purpose was removed. My purpose of living was removed. And so I got home. I went into the master bedroom, which, by the way, at this time, because of the doctors, because of what was going on, I was taking, Xanax and sleeping pills and all kinds of different things, which was a result of being bullied for 3.5 years. And I believe it's called PTSD. Now, needless to say, I go into the bedroom, to the master bathroom, and I take the bottle of sleeping pills. And I'm contemplating, is it even worth it to continue to live? If I cannot bring a difference to the world, if I cannot make an impact to people around me, then what is the purpose of my existence? And those of you who have seen my show before, those of you who know me, know that universe always says yes. My mother used to say when I was a young boy that God takes you when he's ready for you to go home. And when he's not done with you here in this lifetime, when he's not done with you yet, that's when we continue on to live. And so, of course, in this moment, my husband shows up to the house when he wasn't supposed to. He actually showed up earlier than he normally would arrive at the house. And of course, he comes in and he catches me in the bathroom with the bottle of pills ready to take them. And immediately I broke down and I cried and I told him what happened. And immediately we started to find help. And then we would later, of course, find an attorney that helped me to fight back. And from that, I was able to settle with the school and move on. It gave me an entire year to really contemplate and think about what it is that I really wanted to do in this life. It gave me an opportunity to really ask this question: who is it? Whom do I want to help and to support to make a difference in their lives? And this is when I began the journey of looking at my own business, of looking at my own services. And what I realized is that I was too afraid, like most and many of us taxpayers out there, entrepreneurs, I was actually afraid to take a lot of the deductions and a lot of the write-offs that we are legally entitled to take. I'm a tax professional. I was the one with my business degree in business accounting with an emphasis in taxation. I created my first business, JB Financial. We prepared the tax returns. And yet I was too afraid to take the deductions and the write-offs for my own business. Like many of us, I was afraid of being caught. Like some of us, I had sleepless nights worrying about the future of my tax bill. Needless to say, it wasn't until I started really diving deep into tax code, which, by the way, I love to do. That's the nerd in me. And it wasn't until I started really looking at it and really figuring out the basics of the deductions, the basics of the write-offs. And so what I also discovered is the more and more I had clients join me and allowed me to transform them, just like with my students, to transform them from not knowing how to operate their business, not knowing the deductions and the write-offs that they were legally entitled to take, not knowing, to the confidence of knowing, to the rhythm of financial success, that I realized then I could probably make, and I do make, the biggest, largest impact. Needless to say, it was starting with the basic understanding. And here's the thing: of all the people, I've been doing this for 18 years, even though I don't look it. Let me give it on good genes. Every single entrepreneur, whether or not you're a startup and you're just conceptualizing the idea, or if you are an experienced business owner, the single question I get asked all the time is, JB, what can I deduct? Jonathan, what can I write off? I get asked this question all the time. And so I realized that I had to do something about it. It just did not come to me yet because, again, the universe wasn't ready for it. So instead, in 2016, I had to become an IRS enrolled agent so that I could represent people before the Internal Revenue Service if they had problems before them. But that also meant that I had to continue to study tax law. And I chose to emphasize in business tax law specifically. And more importantly, how we go from being structured as the sole proprietor to something greater than that, like other entities, for example, like corporations or partnerships or S corporations or nonprofits. So in 2016, I became an EA because that gave me the power to represent and to work with my clients before the Internal Revenue Service. It's the highest license one can get. It's given directly by the IRS. And then in 2018, I became a certified tax coach through the American Institute of Certified Tax Coaches. And what Dominique showed me, she's the founder, what she showed me, and this is really important about working with a tax coach and a planner, is that they showed me that tax deductions and write-offs is not one idea. Tax planning, tax strategies is more than one idea. This is how we make more money, ironically enough, in our businesses, and yet at the same time reduce our taxes That's the trippy thing. Because I don't know about you guys, but I know some of you have been told this. The more money you make, the more the government wants to take it from you. This is what we've been told. And I'll say this with a caveat. If you are an entrepreneur, that statement is a lie. It's false. In 2019, I became a certified tax planner, which took it to the next step. Because now, again, for my own company, as well as many of my other clients I was working with, and many of you out there, I realized that it's not just staying in the same pattern. It's not just like someone you can go to at the end of the year and you give them all your tax documents and you prepare the tax return for Uncle Sam. Now, don't get me wrong. I still provide that service. Obviously, I don't promote it, but we still do tax returns, but that's kind of like a one-night stand. It's like a transactionary experience. It's like, okay, I'll see you once a year. See you next year. The reality is that many entrepreneurs want a relationship. They want a long-term relationship with lots of value. And they want to work with you. If you're a tax planner, if you're a tax consultant, if you're an accountant right now, they want a relationship. So for me, I was like, holy moly macarons and cheese. Like I'm moving into that. It's about the relationship. And so this year, in 2019 as well, that's when I started investing in myself. I started investing in all of the coaches that were necessary so that I could have the confidence to be right here with you right now, talking freely about my life. It turns out that in business, as it relates to your taxes, if you invest in business coaches, either someone like me or other people out there, as long as you're doing it for the benefit of your business, which, by the way, you started your company for the purpose of making money. We call this a profit. If you are in business to make money, honeys, and you're investing in coaches, Uncle Sam turns around and says, yes, you absolutely can deduct that from the income. Absolutely. Why? Because Uncle Sam wants us to be in charge of our own destiny. He wants us to go from someone like myself who was struggling, who felt like the whole world was on top of him, that was discriminating against him, that fired him not once but twice. I would later learn that that's just the way the universe says, you are supposed to do what you're supposed to do in this life. Your purpose is greater than what you think it is. Your purpose as an entrepreneur is greater than what we can even conceptualize. And here's why, because business owners are the creators of our experiences and everybody else's experience around us. So needless to say, I became a tax planner. And then I hired my coaches. I hired my first coach, then my second coach, then my third coach, then my fourth coach. All for the purpose of bettering myself, which ironically enough, of course, was benefiting my business. Why? Because there's no doubt that the money I invested in my coaches has already seen itself 300-400 times over what I would have ever imagined even a year ago, even a week ago. That's the thing, right? Like I'm working with my current coach right now. I gave myself an overnight raise. Why? Because of the value that we bring to you. So what is the value? Well, here it goes. What I discovered as a struggling entrepreneur was I was too afraid to take the deductions and the write-offs that I'm legally entitled to take, that many of you right now are afraid to take. So the benefit here is that when you work with someone like me, and you read, first of all, it starts out, you can read my book, The ABCs of Deductions, get a basis idea of what deductions and write-offs you are very well entitled to take. So the question, of course, is I've got an invitation for you. And my invitation is this. You want to buy my book? You want to change your life, add thousands of dollars to your bottom line overnight and not pay less. Send a text under the cover to 555 888. 555 888. Send the word under the cover to get onto my team. It starts with the basis of understanding your deductions and your write-offs. The next step to what I call my ultimate financial freedom experience is that the next thing we have to do is have a one-on-one conversation. You got to come to something what I call my mutual exploration meeting, because let's think of it like this, like dating. I'm still figuring out if you're going to be a good date, and you're still figuring out if I'm a good date. And so what I normally charge, I'm actually gifting this away temporarily especially during COVID, because the truth is that we all need the resources so that we can continue to drive our businesses forward, so that we can pay less taxes, so we can have more money, and as a result, continue to do the things that we love to do to fulfill our life's purpose. So the way this works is you pick up the phone, I pick up the phone with you. We have a quick little chit chat conversation. Where are you going, what things are working, what are not working, right? We get naked, quote unquote, and bear down to the naked truth about your tax life. And from there, the next step is I move you into something called my tax optimization analysis. And what this tax optimization analysis does is it gives us the ability to look at you, your personal life, your business life, from like a 30,000 foot view, looking down and literally looking for what we call opportunities. Opportunities are things like shifting income, shifting the expenses, tax loopholes, tax credits, tax incentives. What else do we look for? Yeah, those are the big ones, right? We are taking that view and we're looking for it, because each time we find a new opportunity, it means thousands of dollars in your pocket. In fact, what I can share with you is that my tax optimization analysis, the people who do it, even the discovery call, the one I'm offering to you guys right now, as a result of having just that one phone call, as a result that comes out of having a conversation with me about your tax life, are you ready for this? The last 2 tax plans we put together was savings of over $160,000 in savings. Do you know what that did for one of my clients? It allowed them to hire, finally, for the first time, their full-time assistant and a part-time private chauffeur that drove them around. This is what happens when you work with more money and less taxes. This is what happens when you come and you have a conversation with me, because that conversation can turn into literally tens of thousands of dollars in tax savings that you get to keep. You get to keep in your pocket and use it so that you can continue to be seen, continue to be heard, and continue to fulfill your life's purpose. So I can't believe I'm doing this right now, but I'm going to totally do this. And that is that I'm going to give this link. I'm actually letting my director know, which, by the way, if you've not met her, Paige, she's my director of operations, and she controls my life. I'm telling you right now, she controls the calendar. And I'm letting her know right now that I'd like to have some times be opened up for you guys, if you watch today's episode, and clear up some time so that you can come in and you can have essentially a complimentary discussion with me. Again, it's normally I charge $750 to come in and have this 30-minute conversation with me. And again, I'm just gifting this out because why? Because here's the truth. We're all in the same boat right now. We're all trying to find a way to make more money. We're all trying to save more money. We're all trying to pay less in taxes. We're all in the boat. I'm in the same boat as you. And again, I come from the place of really, truly wanting to support you and to take you to your next level. So I'm going to put it right here, right now in the banner. And I would like for you guys to take this down, take down this link. In fact, I'm going to put it in the comment section too, and book an appointment with me. 30 minutes can add over $160,000 in money in your pocket. Maybe you're a little bit afraid. Maybe you're kind of like, oh, I don't know, man, like 160,000, like what in the world would the investment be for that? Here's what I would share with you. Our average savings in 2019 for the clients that worked with us was over $40,000. Why? Because we have a few high ones in there that just came out. We're still working on our 19, but that's the truth. Over $40,000 in average tax savings for our clients. Here's the thing. The road less traveled means that we have to put in the hard work. It means that we have to become business savvy owners. And it starts with understanding our tax life. It starts with understanding who we are and what our purpose is. And I can tell you guys right now, not one single one of you entrepreneurs was sent here to this existence to pay more money in taxes to a government who writes laws that does not want you to pay. That is the ultimate truth. The road less traveled for me has meant that I have been spit on, I have been beat up, I have been fired, I have been rejected, I have been placed in areas that I can't even fit in with anybody or anyone. I have been ridiculed. I have been feel less than, unworthy of. I'm too young. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. No hair, too much hair. I've been through all of that. And my one saving grace to my happiness is having personal financial security. And it starts with understanding the basics of our tax deductions and our write-offs. Because from there, it can go up. And I can promise you this because I've done it myself. Once I understood that each time I stepped out of my office and asked myself, can I deduct this? What's going to be the benefit? How is this going to come back to me? What's going to be my return on my investment when I invest in someone else? When I was able to make those critical decisions, I brought that back. And I was able to make better informed decisions about the future of my business, the future of my second business, and now the future of my third business. And here's the thing. You don't have to be the expert. I'm not asking you guys to be me. I'm not asking you guys to put on a hat and become tax expert. That is not what I'm wanting. All I want is for you guys to do the things that you are amazing and brilliant at while still stepping into your power of having the basic understanding of what is possible, but understanding the basics as it comes to one of the most crucial parts of business ownership, and that is your taxes. And ironically enough, it's about your finances. Because if you could have the power over that, this is what will happen to you. Goodbye, sleepless nights. Bye, Felicia. Right? No offense to my friend Felicia, by the way, but bye, Felicia. Right? That will happen to your fear as it relates to your tax life. Because you're going to walk around going, yeah, babies, I know that I'm audit proof. I know I got my documentations. I know that if Uncle Sam comes knocking on my door, I'm going to say, here's the reason why I took what I took. Have a great day, IRS agent, toodles noodles, right? That's what that's going to do for you. It goes away. We all know, if you listen to any inspirational speaker out there, including myself, we say this all the time. The moment we remove the barrier of fear, all that can come up is nothing but opportunities, abundance. We use this word. You've heard this word, abundance. That's what happens when we're able to remove the fear of not knowing where we are in our tax lives. And as a result of that, once I remove all that fear, baby, you can be here, be you, be authentically yourself, selling your products, your widgets, et cetera, making a shit ton of money and paying very few taxes is a better way of putting it, because no one really ever gets out of paying taxes. Let's be real. You go outside, you buy a soda pop, they're going to hit you with something called sales tax. Let's be real. So at the end of the day, though, it's about mitigating that. So needless to say, I'm encouraging you guys to come on and truly allow me to change your life. First of all, I want to acknowledge my mom. So hi, Mom. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're watching my show. She's my #1 fan. And yes, there you go. See, even she said it. Not because she's just my mother, right? I've always wanted to be a teacher since I was born. And that's the ultimate truth. And here's the most beautiful thing. I'm actually taking my master's degree in education, which taught me the science of teaching. And now I'm going to be able to apply that into business, which, by the way, um, I now offer a whole brand. By the way, I just want you guys to all know I've restructured everything in my business. I've been restructuring it for a while. And I'm so excited to announce, well, in the world of speaking and authors, and this is what I am, right? I'm now an author, a speaker, a coach, right? So those that are watching, like I think Paul is watching, I created my very first high-end package, and we call this the Ultimate Financial Freedom Experience, also known as the Bengal Experience, because that's what my kids would say about me when I was a teacher. Because I took those kids for the people that rejected them because they had authority issues, or because they wanted to speak their mind, or because they wanted to ask questions, because they were curious, they were inquisitive. Because I took those kids, or the kids that couldn't read, to the ability to read at grade level and beyond. Because I did all of that, I have the science of teaching behind me. That's the beautiful thing. I've taken my coursework now and I've said, well, how do I apply this to the science of teaching? I'm already a natural artist as a teacher. Now, how do I apply the science to it? And let me tell you, girls, boys, business owners, adults, you name it. I'm telling you, this is going to be a fantastic program I just created. So I'm super excited for that. So needless to say, thank you, Mom, once again. I love you so much. Thank you, Mom. And by the way, I will tell the world that my mother always said encouraging words, conflicted by the disciplinary actions, but always told me kind words. And to me, honestly, I'm proud that I can say that I never was told negative things by my mother. So, Mom, I do give you a lot of thanks for that. And of course, Paul, my most amazing friend and buddy, he has a company called him and another buddy of mine, Justin James. They have a company called Let Your Nerd Be Heard, and I think it's Let Your Nerd Be Heard Squared. Could be wrong, but needless to say, like Paul inspired me, by the way, to he helped me come up with Naked Tax Talk Raw. He is a brilliant podcaster himself. He's a brilliant video editor, and he's the one who kind of said to me, this is the things you have to invest in if you want to do a show. And so, yeah, if you're looking to do a show, you're looking to do some broadcasting, you're looking to do something as it relates to being like what we're doing, you got to contact Paul Chow. You got to go talk to Paul Chow. By the way, Paul, I forgot to do something that you had recommended, and that is that I'm supposed to tell people that right now you should be subscribing and you should be clicking the alert button on my show. Paul gave me this great tip, and just the tip, and so I'm now doing it out. So by the way, if you just watched my 42-minute show thus far on where I've been, how I've come here, and of course my invitation to you to help me to let me support you and take you to the next level, hit the subscribe button and the alert button, because here's the dealio, Emilio. Once a week on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m., I come on here and I talk sometimes about things that make sense, things that don't make sense. And on Thursdays at 6 p.m., I bring on guests. Like tomorrow, I'm bringing on, let's see here. Who am I bringing on tomorrow? I just realized that I don't know who I'm bringing on tomorrow. Who am I bringing on tomorrow? Y carambasitas. Oh, yes, that's right. I'm bringing on Glory Alley, who's going to talk about travel. Hence the road less traveled, right? But she's going to talk about travel opportunities, and we're going to talk openly about things that she's experienced and how her business has been impacted and what's the step we can take. So, Paul, never has tax been so sexy. Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate it. Yeah, I try my best. I mean, that's all I can do, right? So needless to say, to recap all of this, babies, is that when we as entrepreneurs take the road that is less traveled, what we find is nothing but opportunities that wait there for us. We discover who we are in the process by figuring out that holy moly macarons and cheese, I actually am greater than I could have ever have conceptualized. And we do that by understanding the basics of our deductions and our write-offs, and by ultimately stepping into my tax optimization analysis, which further unlocks even more the mystery of taxation, uncovering those legal loopholes, and of course, revealing those missed opportunities. So in closing, I'd like to thank everybody who listened. I'd like to thank everybody who showed up. I'd like to thank, of course, my mom for watching. She's my super fan. And I'd like to thank all my other super fans. And last but not least, I would love it, and I would be so honored if you all would get on my launch team and help me promote the ABCs of deductions. All I'm asking for is a commitment to buy my book for 99 cents on July 7th at 11 a.m. I think that's Pacific time. And to read it, it's just 40 pages, and to leave a review. That's all I'm asking. So please get on my list. Join me, support me. I feel like I'm on PBS, like support me, support right now, right? Like we rely on your support. It's true. So with that, I say good night, good morning, or whenever it is you've watched my show. And thank you so much for, again, taking your time to watch me today. Until tomorrow night, 6 p.m., when I'm joined with Gloria Alley, have a great evening or a great morning.